今混ざってしまえば混ざってしまえば君と重なって視線が相まってロマンスは止まらない失敗したらグッバイステップ神様どうか今日は味方しておかしな君は笑って逆さまスカイが顔を出して夢ならまだ覚めないで心も夜赤に染まってく冷静沈着はどう頑張ったってない大体しかにないちょっとレートなさりない最低な黒にさえさよなら言いたいよな甘えましない限られてしまいそうだからこの夜を越えてゆけ響かせてその想いを君に染まってしまえば、君だけ思っていたいな、
Hello everybody and welcome to What Do You Say Anime. I am your host Peter and joining me as always is our co-host Adam. Adam, how's it going today?
Al, we're doing pretty well today. How about yourself?
Oh, I had a lot of my mom fooled me into doing yard work today, so
Ooh.
lots of sun today, but I'm glad to be talking anime with you.
Alrighty.
And on today's episode, we are going to be reviewing the 2020 spring anime season. We will be reviewing 7 anime. And yeah, it was a really interesting season due to all the delays with COVID. So we were luckily happened to get a few that were actually finished in time. So that was really nice. And we had some personal favorites of mine. I guess we'll see your views on how you viewed the anime season. But first, we're going to start off with the absolute juggernaut that was Love is War Season 2, which is a follow-up to my Comedy of the Year for 2019. And this show was an absolute delight, and I loved it so much. Adam, do you want to start with things that you maybe liked or did not like with Love is War Season 2?
Well, I absolutely loved this season, and I think my favorite part was the Ishigami arc that we get. I feel like his character was kind of never really, like, fleshed out. He was kind of just, like, the quiet, like, gonna give you, like, a little bit of lip type of character who didn't take things seriously. But then when you find out, like, why he is such a recluse to everyone in the group, and you see, like, his whole backstory and, like, the shit that he went through, like, oh, man, I've never felt... Well, I shouldn't say never felt. There are certain characters, some of my favorite characters I felt that I connected to in a really strong way, and he is definitely one of them, right up there with, like, Simone for me.
Yo, episode 11, which was the third part of the Ishigami arc, you won't be able to see it, but I'm gonna hold it up. I loved it so much that I bought 6 volumes of the manga, where season 2 ends. It was absolutely incredible. I loved the Ishigami arc so much. He is automatically best boy for season. I mean, we still got 2 seasons to go, but I mean, he is the clear front runner for best boy this year. There were so many just great episodes with season 2 that I liked a little bit more than season 1, where I gave season 1 a 9. There's just so much like more character development between everybody, not just the main characters of Shirogane and Kaguya, that you got to see like the little eye arc with her trying to like tease the president into like trying to, you know, get with her instead of Kaguya. That was a great episode. We had another like Chika teaching episode of the dance, because he doesn't know how to dance, so Chika had to teach him. Like, we had the volleyball episode in season 1, we had the dance episode in season 2.
There's a singing one in season 2 as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. And then there's a spoiler alert in the manga. There's another one, so I'm really hoping that we get a 3rd season adapted, because then we could get to see another Chika. It's like a callback to season 1 in the manga, so I'm really hoping that we get to see that later in season 3, which I feel like we have a good chance, because this was such a widely like well received anime, and it's became one of a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah, it's up there for me too. And me and the other Adam, what we call Miles, we got into a whole debate about between Toradora and Love is War, which one we think gets love right or understands love more, is deep, like talks about it in a more deep way. And I was on the Toradora side, but after starting reading after I finished season 2 of Love is War, I
Yeah.
had to message him and be like, yo, dude, I might have to eat my words.
Oh,
Because I
really?
read some of the stuff that comes up a little later, and damn, I really,
Dude,
really, really like it.
yeah. If you are a fan of Kaguya-sama, like you need to read the manga. Like holy crap! Like I adore this show. I adore this franchise. I adore everything about this show. It's so much. And man, I would probably personally still lean Toradora just because like that was like that was me. Like that resembled so much of me, where this doesn't really resemble me. Like I was never like a student council president or something like that.
I
well,
feel you on that.
I was a regional president in high school for a business association, so not necessarily incorrect, but a little less. But
I was just getting at like our discussion was strictly about the anime,
Sure.
and to this point, I'll still be like, when it comes anime to anime, I still feel it's not very. Toradora is still the Ishigami arc is the closest thing that Love is War has done for really talking about like the depths of love and the complexity of it. And for that, I still feel Toradora wins in strictly anime to anime. But when you start throwing some of the stuff the manga has touched on, I feel like it can give it a run for its money when it gets adapted.
I feel like if somebody said that like they like that aspect of like let's say love more than Toradora, I have no problem with it. Like it's just like a personal thing where like Toradora is always gonna have like a special place in my heart based off like what happened in like my real life and then based off what happened in the anime. So
for me, I still Love is War never made me sit down and like emotionally have a cry. Toradora's done that to me still. So
but yeah, Love is War. I mean, Toradora never made me want to like go out and buy more or like do like the visual novels or anything like that. Where Love is War, as soon as I saw the Ishigami arc, I'm like, what volume of the manga does season 2 end? Because I need to buy this right now. And then I bought like all 6 volumes that are currently out. So I'm up to like chapter, I forgot what it was, like 141 or something like that. I think there's more, but like I can only read like what's published, so they're like 6 months behind or whatever.
Yeah, I think scanlations go up into like 190s. I think.
So I'm like 50 chapters behind, but I'm just waiting. I just started building like my manga bookshelf, so I'm just gonna wait for the new like publications every 4-6 months that it comes out, then just read it then. But I mean, the manga itself is, if you love the show, the manga is just as good, if not better. I love the manga. I absolutely adore it.
Yeah, and can we talk about at least the last little arc that they did with Kaguya and her cell phone? Like, I don't know exactly. I felt so bad watching that. Like, I think that's the most emotional I got was when I saw her just kind of like almost giving up on everything.
Yep.
Because she had lost all those, thought she had lost all those memories.
And
I was like, I felt heartbroken.
Yeah, and then then you realize that she's living in like 1942, and everybody else is living in the present time. And like, we have the cloud. Like, I don't know if you ever heard of that. So all of your pictures that you saved is like, it's fine. Like, we have them. So it's like, like you felt so bad for her that you realize like all of those memories are still saved. Don't worry. Like, you can still be a good girl. I mean, we kind of touched on like the characters where we got introduced to Ino, the new.
I like her. I like her a lot.
She grew on me. At first, I thought she was annoying, and then you realize that she's kind of like she puts on like an act, and she's actually kind of like a pushover, but like she's like cute and funny about it. Where like she's all like, "Oh, I'm the disciplinary like committee like leader or whatever," and then you like if you're like nicer, she's like, I guess I could let that slide. And she does that a lot for Chica and her board game club. That she lets a lot of like Chica stuff go slide on like whatever under the rug because Chica's nice to her. So, and then you get to see that more and more with like her story and her interactions with the student council. But then you get to see also where she thinks everybody in student council is essentially like perverts because she keeps walking in at like the worst time whenever things are happening. So
I honestly thought that was going to be a long-running joke where she never actually goes to a student council meeting because I think like 2 full episodes, every time she's about to walk through the door, something's going on, so she runs away. So I thought it was going to be an ongoing thing where she never actually joins the student council.
That'd be great. But I am glad with how like her like arc progresses and her like interactions and her like becoming one of the student council members, because now it just, if she left, it would feel weird because she has like a whole new dynamic with the student council. It's not just the original 4. It's like now we have 5. So
yeah, and I think she even adds, like, I feel like there's going to be a thing going with her and Ishigami at some point. There's some tension there.
Yeah, like you could definitely tell that
it's gonna turn into something, but
because Ishigami's crush is a 3rd year, so like, do you really think a 1st year and a 3rd year are gonna like have like this relationship? Like, I don't think so. But like, 1st year, Ishigami 1st year, I could definitely see that going forward. And that'd be really fun to see like them like just another like relationship arc in the show. Like, the characters are so good. Like, if we move away from Kaguya and Shirogane, like, it's going to be fine. Like, I mean, Ishigami's my favorite character of the show and of the year so far. So like, if we move away from those characters, like, it's perfectly fine. So I'm hoping that we can see something similar to that.
Yeah, I kind of hope at some point we do get Miyuki and Kaguya like moving forward, and they kind of take a mentor role, because they're already in their last year. They're starting.
No, they're in their they're still 2nd years, because
I thought that
because
they had their the presidential arc would have been the start of their 3rd year.
No, those were the elections to be president the following like whatever like year, but they're still 2nd years because
okay, because I just assumed once they took back over the office and they moved everything back in, that would technically be the start of year 3.
I feel like that's like a plot hole that people just like don't talk about, because like I think technically like Ishigami would have continued being president until the year was over, and then like if he did, I don't know how their like elections work or anything like that, but
so yeah, for me, I would guess I was just assuming like they basically got to the end of the year, they had their election to determine who's going to be the next president, and then what was it, episode 10 or 9 or whatever, when they move all the stuff back in. I assumed that was technically the start of year 3.
No, they're still 2nd years, because I don't want to spoil anything in the manga, because something happens in the manga where like, yeah, that's kind of like how they confess, like, because of like what happens for their 3rd year type of thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how far you are in the manga, but
no, I'm just a couple chapters after what they. I'll take your word for it, because
something happens. So. Yeah, something happens. But let's get to our rating. I'll start. I absolutely adore the show. There's so many memorable episodes where, like, I think last season 1, like, I think the real memorable episode was the volleyball episode for me. I just thought that was like absolutely hilarious. I feel like in this season there were so many memorable episodes where we had the dance, the Chica teaching the president how to dance, the election, the whole Ishigami arc, the inclusion of Ino into the student council. I thought there were so many more memorable moments. To no surprise, I gave it a 10. It is now my number. I also moved into my top 10 of all time. It is now my number 8 all time. It kicked out Gurren Lagann. That's how much I love the show, and I bought all the manga, and I love the show. So 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. I gave it a 10 out of 10 as well. I think it's objectively the best anime this season, and right now my front runner for anime of the year. Which, if you would have asked me like 5 days ago, wouldn't even have been the case. So,
yeah,
I had a different show that was front runner this season that I thought was also really good.
And I think we'll get to that later, but yeah, I've given out 2 10s this year, so Love is War, and then since it didn't technically come out, it technically came out last year, but I kind of like hinted at it the last episode that I gave Dorohedoro a 10 as well, but we're not going to really deep dive into that, but Dorohedoro is great. You should watch it. It's on Netflix. Next up, we have the this one's really controversial. Tower of God, the Crunchyroll original webtoon, the first one that we get, sets place sort of like a combination of Hunter x Hunter and then the tower climbing aspect of SEO. We have our lead character Bam. It's kind of Bam and Rachel trying to maneuver their way up to the tower to get to the whatever floor to fulfill their wish. So this was a very interesting dynamic of a show, I would say. There's a lot of criticisms where people apparently claim nothing happened in the show, where I'm on the exact opposite. I thought the world building of, they only climbed like 2 or 3 levels, and I thought the world building itself of the show was incredible, and I loved it so much that I started reading the webtoon. Like, that's how much I enjoyed Tower God. How about Am? What are your thoughts on Tower God?
I think it's the perfect setup for a long-running series. I think the first season that we got feels more like an introduction
Sure.
to the world than it does like a full-fledged like story, or full like piece by itself. But I also feel like they plan on this being a long-running series, so it makes sense that the first season is really more setup than anything.
Sure.
I agree with you that I think they did a great job setting up the world, and I think this show has the potential to be one of the best the potential to be the best show of this season once the entire piece is fully out. However, I didn't like the visuals like a lot of people did.
Okay.
There were times when I thought it worked really, really well, but then other times when they did close-ups, I think the thick outlines of the characters were more distracting, especially on Kun and Rachel. Every time they were on screen, I felt like something felt off.
Okay.
And it might just be strictly a me thing where the visuals didn't click with me, but that was the biggest thing holding me back.
Okay. See, I'm on the exact opposite because I read the webtoon, and I think justifiably the art in the webtoon, especially the first season, is pretty garbage. Like, it's not well made. Like, yeah. And if you read the webtoon, you see the art get better and better. And I think most people would probably agree with me in that statement. I personally thought the art was a little different, but I wouldn't say it's bad. I think you can rightfully say like that it was objectively, like, it was just a little different in how they handled like character textures and character design and how they looked, because they look very different between the webtoon and the anime itself. So I think that's perfectly fine, like, criticism, because I personally have my own criticisms with the show. I felt like there were some parts of the show that didn't need to be added. They only adapted like 80 chapters of the first. I guess they technically adapted the entire first season of the webtoon, but I feel like there's parts of the webtoon that they could have added and removed from the show itself. But I still thought the show itself was like really well constructed, especially with like because my biggest thing is like characters. Like, I love characters, and I thought like the short times that we had with the characters that we were introduced to were like really good. Like, I thought I immediately fell in love with Rack. He just reminded me of Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho, where he's like this.
That was gonna come up.
He's like a lovable idiot brute. Like, but like he deeply cares for like his turtles, and he deeply like wants to continue climbing the tower with them. Where you kind of have like this. He kind of just like shows off this attitude of like, it's all about me. But then when it gets to like the actual situations, especially in the Crown game that they had, where it's like, okay, we need to protect Bam, and like we need to protect the black turtle. Like, he really shows up where it's like, okay, like you're seeing like this development really early from like these characters of like, okay, if we want to grow as like winners of the tower, like we need to form a team, we need to form friendships. And you really see it from Rack in the last episode where Rachel pushes Bam off of the orb that they're on, and Rack is like crying, but he doesn't like cry like a human, he like screams like a crocodile. Like I said, I don't know if that makes any sense at all, because I don't know if crocodiles scream, but like he instead of crying, yeah, I don't know, like instead of crying, he screams. He's like, ah, like he's so sad that his friend died. So I just love like everything about that about Bam. I love Kun so much just because he reminds me of Killua from Hunter x Hunter. Let me show my Hunter x Hunter phone case real quick. But like, there's so many things about like, because I'm a diehard Hunter x Hunter fan. So like, there's so many things that just reminded me of Hunter x Hunter in this show. But they like, it's not like copy and paste like they do with isekais. It's like it's a completely different take on. I don't know. You don't technically classify this as like a shonen, but like this adventure style. I mean, you could kind of probably say it's a shonen, but like
I'm gonna, for all intents and purposes, I'll call it a shonen.
Yeah, let's just call it shonen for right now. But like that style of like, you know, like deceivedness and tower climbing and like adventures and fighting and all that stuff. Like, I thought they did it really well, similar to Hunter x Hunter. And my score is kind of going to reflect it because I think Hunter x Hunter is a fucking masterpiece. So, I think this has legit has like the path of being like a great like adventure style, like I don't know, like you can compare it to like One Piece because it is compared to One Piece as like the world building of the show. So I mean, I'm talking a lot. Abby, how about your thoughts on that?
Like I said, I think this really has potential. Like for moving on, for especially in the next few seasons. Like I've been reading it as well. I'm not quite as far as you, but the stuff I've read, I'm not even halfway through what's considered chapter 2 or season 2.
Yeah.
And there's enough for at least another season and a half
already.
I've
If we get season 2, it needs to be legit. It needs to be like 48 episodes.
I was
like,
gonna say 50 something episodes or whatever.
The workshop arc is incredible, dude. It's going to like if you think Tower of God is mid, the workshop arc will change. Our workshop arc is going to change everything. Like,
and see, that's where I kind of was when I finished watching it. I'm gonna keep reading it because I know people say it gets better, and that just made me go back and rewatch it and like see all the small things they did. And I even went to go, and I'm gonna do this right now. I'm gonna say I think they did a good job with Rachel.
Oh no!
And I know people hate her as not necessarily a character, but as a person.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Rachel as a character because her whole like life goal is to climb the tower, and then when she finds out that like she wasn't even supposed to be chosen for the tower, it kind of like hits a mark on her, and the whole time it was supposed to be Bam. So we get like this. I think Rachel is extremely well written. I think she's a great character. I want her to perish. I want her to die a miserable death. But like, she's well written. Like she's a great like antagonist / villain, depending on like how you view her as. I think I think a lot of people have every right to even say that she's not even a villain. Like,
I'm more on that side. I kind of want to. Once you're finished, I kind of want to get into that.
No, but like okay, like. From my point, yes, Bam is the main character. Villain is, there's multiple antagonists, but like Rachel is an antagonist in some way to the story. So I personally think that she's a villain. But if somebody said like I don't view her as a villain, but as long as you view her as like an antagonist, I think that's fine. But like she obviously is using, like she is obviously manipulating other people for her own gain. Instead of like trying to like, she's like the all for one instead of the one for all. I'll put it that way. All right, your thoughts.
I feel like if anything, she's more the Shigaraki. I think the tower itself, or the king of the tower, would be the one for all. Or sorry, the all for one in the
King Jihad.
Yeah, the King Jihad would be the real big bad that's kind of like moving the pieces around, and Rachel just being a piece. But I just want to present this situation, see what you think about it. Okay, so when Rachel gets pulled into the tower, she realizes that one, she wasn't chosen, and that she has one of two options she's given by the little rabbit dude. I don't remember his name. The tower guardian.
Hedron or something like that. Hedron.
Yeah. But Hedron goes and gives her one of two options. She can leave, go back to living her miserable life, doing whatever she's doing.
Yep.
Baum will continue to climb the tower, searching for her, never to find her, and either die in the tower or spend pretty much eternity searching.
Sure.
Or she can go into the tower and kill him. Regardless, she is never going to see Baum again in a positive way. Like, she doesn't really have much of a choice there. So when she decides that she's going to go into the tower to kill Baum, she can't really change her mind because she has that guardian that will just kill her if she decides not to do it.
No, for sure.
So she's essentially a hostage in this situation. So the only reasonable out for her to accomplish anything is to essentially go to the dark side, kill her only friend, and at least then she gets the chance to see the stars.
Yeah.
She really has no other options.
Well, I mean, she does have an option. Like,
I mean, she could just choose to die at that point.
Well, yeah, it's like, would you like sacrifice yourself for somebody else? And in her case, it's no. So like, you can like. To each their own, but like you can point that out as like a villainous like type of like move where like, would you take a bullet for this person? Essentially, that's like what the metaphor is, type of thing. And it's like, and she's just saying, no, I will not take a bullet for this person that I thought I like loved. There's like a, depending on how you view it, I don't view Bam as a simp. I feel like Rachel's like a mother figure more than like a
romantic
lover. Yeah, something like that. So it's a little different than like how I view Bam and Rachel's relationship, but like, that's why another thing is why I like villainize her is because like if it was like I know my mom would take a bullet for me in a heartbeat, and like if you were like
I gotta interrupt you there.
Sure, no, go for it.
I feel it's unfair to say like she's taking a bullet for him. It's basically like she's agreeing to either pull the trigger herself or they both die. Because if she decides not to do it and she just gets straight up murdered, Bomb isn't going to just continue to live without her. Essentially, I could very easily see her mindset being if I die, he's gonna lose all reason to live too. So there's no reason for me to take this bullet for him.
But this is one reason why
he's essentially dead anyway.
Yeah, this is
might as well just let him die, and then after that point, after she makes the decision, because that whole scene leading up to that, she is questioning. She's like, why did you follow me up here?
Sure.
I told you not to do it. You almost see her fighting with her own consciousness, like trying to like rationalize what she's about to do.
Yep.
And I feel like after she makes the decision, there's no going back.
Yep.
She's already done the most regrettable act. She feels like, at least this is the way I see it, she feels like she's irredeemable at that point.
Yeah.
She has to go through with her plans regardless of how many other evil acts she has to commit, because otherwise, if she doesn't succeed, everything she did was for naught. So I feel she's almost a tragic character because the situation she put in is almost, there's no good out.
No, and I think like literally what you're saying is one reason why the show is so good is because
absolutely.
you can have so many different like thoughts and ideas, and like how I view one character is how somebody views someone completely different. Because there's like people who like don't like Rack, which is shocking to me, but there's people who don't like Rack. There's people who, I mean, Bam is kind of like a boring MC in the first season. Like I mean, if you read the webtoons, he gets so much better. Like he's an insane main character, but like it's kind of made out for that specific reason. Like they do it on purpose to make him like that type of character, and hopefully we get a season 2 and we can see more of it. But like I think that's one reason why the show is so good, is because we get introduced to these characters, we get introduced to these different like multiple storylines of reasons why people want to climb the tower, and trying to justify like am I yeah, like there's some people who don't, they're not going to like kill anybody. Like in the first or second episode where like they're at like 400 people and they have to eliminate the 200. There's people who just straight up hide. Like they're not willing to kill to climb the tower. And then there's some people who are just like, I'm going to kill everybody at whatever cost it takes for me to climb the tower. And that's really cool to see like the justification of each individual character on like why they do this. Because like Shibisu like doesn't kill anybody in that round, where somebody like, I mean, you see it like right away where like somebody like stabs somebody and then is immediately shot by an arrow, which is then immediately shot by a sniper rifle. So it's like people just like don't care. Like they just need to be eliminated down to 200. And it's really cool to see like critically thinking, like those type of things of shows I absolutely love. And it's so much different than like cookie cutter shonen. So
yeah. And I think they do a good job of setting it up that it's not necessarily the people that are killing aren't necessarily bad people.
No.
Like they might make bad decisions, but I think they do a good job of saying that this whole situation that they're all being put in, where it's like this killer be killed type of scenario, is really the real bad guy in this whole thing, where these people could theoretically climb if they were all able to work together, but like one person turns on another to get that upper hand, and eventually it turns into absolute, it's almost an arms race when you think about it.
Something similar when we talked about Made in Abyss, how the Abyss is sort of like an antagonist, where the tower is sort of the antagonist. Like it's not like directly causing people to kill, but it's like indirectly causing people to do things that like maybe they wouldn't do, because the promise of this wish at the end of the light at the end of the tunnel is like, will you do anything to get your wish fulfilled? And some people is like, absolutely. And some people are like, well, it depends, and some people are like, no, and so like it's a whole vast of characters because that's what it would be like in real life.
Yeah, and it's at least from what I've gotten, it seems like the people that the tower wants to climb are the ones who are willing to do whatever it takes to climb, the ones who are willing to kill, and it seems like those people are normally the ones that get farther. The people that are kind-hearted and stuff, and we see a little bit more in season 2, kind of get stifled at some point.
Yeah.
There's a line that's like, well, you can't get here unless you're willing to, probably check your consciousness.
Yeah, you either have to be like
door,
Yeah, you either have to like kill people or you have to be like a manipulator. Like you have to be really smart in order to control other people to do what you want, which is kind of Kun, because Kun isn't really like the front line guy, but like he is progressing through the tower like smoothly. And you see that, and you see it with other characters in like the show and in the webtoon, where you have somebody like in Dorsey, who is in season 1, she is probably by far the strongest character that they're introduced.
I love her.
Oh yeah, we'll get to best girls in like a second, but like you see like the different styles of like Kun could, because you see it in the Crown game, Kun could like probably mess some people up with his knife if he had to. Like it's not a problem, but he's a better like controller. He's a better manipulator. Like that's the style that he goes with. Where in Dorsey's just like, I'm the strongest person here. I'm just going to kick everybody's ass, which is great. But like let's talk about best girls because. We get introduced to like Yuri, we get introduced to Rachel, Anak, and Endorsi, and there's a lot of like waifu wars, best girl wars, like the marry one, kill one, fuck one type of thing. Like you gotta pick 3, that type of thing. So, what's your thought on like your favorite like characters in terms of like let's say female, because they were very prominent in Tower of God.
Endorsi and Yuri, I think, are my. In the first season, I'm going to keep saying anime.
In the anime.
It's Dorsey and Yuri. And Yuri, I just think, is a badass.
Oh,
I think
she's so badass.
We don't get enough of her as a character for me to really be like, oh, I like her personality. I just think she's she's hot, and she's like probably the strongest character we see in the show so far.
Yeah, because you get to see her like pure strength in episode 12.
It might be 12. It's right there.
She's like plop, and then just like flicks that dude. He's like gone. It's like, oh, like you thought Endorsi was strong. She's got nothing on Yuri. So
yeah. So those 2 are my favorite. And Dorsey, I like that she's like flirtatious, but also that whole like, well, I can't actually have male friends because males and females can't be together. But if you're gonna give me food, I can be a little flirtatious if I need to be. I like that kind of not necessarily tsundere, but that like hard outer shell type of thing. Who's the other one? The lizard girl.
Anak.
Yep. She's all right, and I feel like she gets better as the story goes on. And I totally am like, I feel so bad for her. Like her whole
backstory.
It's like I want her to succeed. I want her, like, if there's anyone who I want to get their objective, besides maybe Bomb, it's her, because she deserves it.
Yeah, for sure.
I do have an issue though with the anime. They need to figure out whatever color she's gonna be.
Oh yeah, I know.
Or is she green? That bothers I know she's green, but it kept flip flopping like scene after scene, and it was really irritating.
Yeah, there's definitely some flaws, but I think for the most part, like the majority of the show is like overall pretty good. Just real quick for me, best girl Anak, Endorsi's waifu. We didn't see enough of Yuri for me to like have like a real justification, but I just love like Anak's backstory, and then Dorsey, especially post time skip in season 2, is like, yeah. So let's get to our rating. You want to go first?
Yeah. I gave it an 8. I feel like this has a lot of potential in the seasons coming up. The story is really well told, but I think my biggest gripe was with the visuals, and yeah, that's really the only thing holding it back from being a 9 for me.
All right. Personally, I loved like the characters. The animation was like hit and miss, like you said, with the Nox color change sometimes. Love the world building. I felt like there wasn't. I mean, it's set up kind of on purpose where there's not really a whole lot of action, but I feel like the action that we did get in the show was pretty satisfying. So I gave it personally a 9 out of 10. I think that if we get a season 2, it needs to be like 48 episodes. To like fully adapt like the actual season 2, or at least get to the workshop arc, which is, I don't know how many episodes they would adapt that to, but I think the show is great. I love it. I think that Crunchyroll picked a great like starter anime for like their like webtoon slash Crunchyroll partnership. So I thought this was really good. And then we have God of High School right now. So I think they're doing a really good job with like these webtoon adaptations. So, and yeah, that's Tower Gun. So Adam, we're gonna pass over to you for a show that you watched, which was Princess Connect.
All right, so Princess Connect Redive. So for those who aren't familiar with the pedigree of the series, it's from the same director that did Konosuba, and that's Takeomi Kanasaki. And so going into this series, I expected it to have that same kind of comedic timing and like visual flair and it's like storytelling elements that Konosuba has, which is like one of my favorite like isekai comedies. Well, isekais in general, but like one of my favorite shows to watch. And it just does, like, you can see that pedigree in there with the art style, but when it comes to comedy and storytelling, it doesn't hit as well as Konosuba did. And that isn't me saying like I don't like the show, because overall I enjoyed it. But I think the biggest issue with it is that it's based on a gacha game. And so you're going in with a lot of really cute character designs, but not like a really deep, fleshed out story and world. So that each episode kind of ends up feeling more like an American style cartoon, where it's episode to episode are just kind of their own isolated instances, and they wrap up in 30 minutes, and you can jump in at any point and watch it, which is fine, but it's just not really my cup of tea. And so even though I think the character designs are all right, sorry, where did I cut out there?
You said I don't remember something.
All right, well, I'll just jump back.
Okay.
Jump, kind of touch it up again. So it's based on a gacha game. There's not a really deep story. The comedy is kind of hit or miss. It's more childish comedy, and the episodes can kind of be watched in any order. They're not really. There isn't one really like overarching plot that you need to follow until like the last 3 episodes. And so while the art is good and the girls are cute, I can't give it more than a 7, because it's just simply an above average show with cute waifus. So if you like waifus and you like the visual styles of Konosuba, I think you'll like this series, but there isn't a really big overarching story that's gonna like compel you to keep going if that isn't your thing.
Gotcha. Like, I feel like, yeah, I don't know. What these rise of like gacha animes is like kind of like, I don't know. At least the Fate one that was recent was like decent, but like,
well, it's because they have a story there.
Yeah,
like, that's
but like
the biggest issue.
Cinderella 9 trash. I think there's like an idol one. I know Bang Dream has one, but like there's like another one that's like coming out that has
There's Review Starlight that came out a couple seasons ago, and then
that one I heard is actually decent too. So,
and then there's one that's this season,
like Lapras or something. It's like the idol one, or is it like the A7, like the male idol one? I don't remember.
No, it's another idol one.
I don't think
Lappy's Relights.
Yeah, okay, Lapras,
Yep.
Yeah, there's like a rise of like all these, I don't know. Whatever, like I think its Mal rating is like roughly a 7 too, so like that makes sense of like it's just like whatever, watch it and have some fun, like, but you're not gonna be like blown away by anything.
Yeah, that's really I was originally sitting on this one with a 6.
Yep.
Because I finished it, and I originally watched it because Mother's Basement did an episode on it about how he was really wanted to watch it because he was super like into like the first couple episodes. So I'm like, all right, I'll check it out. And I left being like, I've seen all like I said, besides the visuals, that's really the thing that carries it. Like I'm like, this isn't all that great. I was sitting at a 6, and then there's the other show that I'm going to talk about later on here pushed it up because that show was something else, and it's the same gacha game style story.
Sure, yeah. So. I feel Okay, so Adam gave Princess Connect a 7 out of 10. Next up is a show that was kind of surprising for me. Was Gleipnir, and it's like a battle royale style show where like everybody essentially like gets a wish from an alien of like what they want, or something like that, and then they like
It's like
turn
a
it.
cursed monkey paw, where
Yeah,
it's kind of you get a power that you want, but it always seems to come with some kind of drawback.
Yes, and at least me from the first episode, I was like, oh, this will be like some like etchy, killing bites, I think, or something like that, where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna get a lot of skin, a lot of like panty shots, and probably people dying, but it ended up being like a decent like show. Like there's some like really decent moments with like I think the actual story was like really unique with them collecting the coins and like why the aliens were on Earth type of thing. And what are your thoughts on Gleipnir?
So going into this, just from the previews we saw, I kind of figured that the main character Shuichi was going to be like this what's the this sub that was like totally into Claire for whatever reason, even though she's like an abusive like psychopath.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what I got. That she's like, oh, this bitch is like a psycho killer, but he just like really wants the boner.
Yep.
That's what I expected going in, and that's not what I got at all. And she was a much like she is kind of crazy, but like a relatable kind of. She's not just a straight I'm killing for killing's sake type of person. Yep. And he isn't the simp that I thought he was gonna be.
Oh, really? Because I thought he was a huge simp.
I mean, he is, but I expected him to be like kissing the ground she walked on type of thing, where it's like
it's a little different, yeah.
But he wasn't necessarily all about that, and he kind of, as the show like grew and he started to slowly get memories back, I'm like, at least he's taken it upon himself to not be a total bitch.
Yep.
Like when he shoots a guy in the back who's trying to like crawl to his sword, he's like, no, I think I'm going to get my hands bloody from now on. I'm not going to make you do all the work yourself. I'm like, okay, I can respect that. And for the story, the whole, I'm going to touch upon a little bit of the plot. So the main character, he gets his wish that we don't know what exactly it was or how he got this power, but he turns into like a giant, like mascot, like dog thing.
Yeah.
It has a zipper in its back, and anyone can get inside of it. And if they have enough of a bond, like they can like fuse together and essentially like work as one to fight other monsters. And I think this show did a better job of being why am I spacing on this name? I should have written this part down. The freaking mech one. The mech one that was all sex metaphors.
Darling in the Franxx?
Darling in the Franxx.
Oh, you mean the shirt I'm wearing currently of 02? Yeah.
I can't see you, though.
Oh, that's right. You can't see me.
But the Darling in the Franxx, I think it did a better job of, like, getting that whole, like, male-female connection thing done right than the later half of Darling in the Franxx did. So where it hit home more for me than that show by the end of it.
Yeah. Speaking of like them like going inside, there's that one scene where like Shuichi lets the other girl inside, and Claire gets upset. It's like, Shuichi, you idiot! It means more than it's more than just like letting somebody in. It's like letting somebody into you. It's like it's like he doesn't get it. I was like, I love that like Claire's like getting upset with that. It's like, yes, you idiot! It's more than just fusing together to fight somebody. It's like, no. You and Claire have like this, like they're not like lovers, but it's like them entering into each other is sort of like a like relationship type of thing where it's like nobody else is like getting inside of me and nobody else is going to get inside of the other person type of thing where it's like you said, like the sex metaphor. It's like, it's more than just that. So I really like that aspect of it, but there's
one little thing that I I went and read some of the later stuff, the later half of it, so I could kind of just get more of a context for what was going on. And one thing that they didn't really do a good job of explaining was that so in the middle of the show, when he lets Yoshioka fuse with him, and then they do like a full-on like demon form fusion when they get killed or whatever, that isn't just something that happens when they're severely injured. That's something that only happens when the two people are in sync. And so that's not really explained well in the anime. And so it becomes a point of contention for Claire that she can't do that with him.
So it's like, am I really the person that you should be like being with then?
Why can she do that with you and I can't? Why are you two more compatible? Like they mention it for a moment. Yoshioka says to Claire, like you and him aren't compatible. Like we are. It's like, and then she just kind of walks away, and it's never really mentioned again.
Yeah.
But the whole fusion thing is something that, unless they're on the same wavelength, doesn't work. Kind of like Darling in the Franxx, where the two pilots have to be like in sync with each other. But I don't know. I thought the show actually has an interesting story, even beyond that. Like you said, with the aliens, why they're there, how Shuichi, whatever his name is. However, whatever the main MC is, his whole backstory of why he has no memory of what happened, and his connection to Claire's sister Elena, and I don't know. I thought that whole thing set up really well, but I don't think we're gonna get a season 2. But
the show, like, it's like one of those shows where like it performed like a little, like, shockingly better than what people thought. Like on the Reddit poll or whatever, like the best anime of the season, Gleipnir got 3rd, and everyone's like, really? Like Gleipnir got 3rd, and so everyone's kind of like, I don't know. I saw the manga being sold in like Barnes and Noble, so like that's the type of thing where like if it sells, like we might get a second season. Like it wouldn't surprise me.
I take it. I overall I really liked the show, and I went into it expecting it to be like something I either dropped after 3 episodes or I finished and thought was like a 5 or a 6. But I was pleasantly surprised going into this that I enjoyed it, and I didn't necessarily like the MC so much, but I really liked Claire.
I loved Claire.
I don't know, maybe it was part of her like weird masochistic whatever, that little bit of crazy in her that I thought I was attracted to. But like I don't know, I thought the scenes where she got naked, I was like, okay, I'm okay. I'm down with this.
I don't like yanderes, and
I don't either.
She was like, well, there's an exception to everything, so
yeah. I don't know if she's
close to a yandere.
Yeah. She walks that line really well, because mostly when I think of a yandere, she would have just freaking killed that bitch right after she got out. She'd been like, no one gets inside my man but me, and like doesn't have a problem doing it. But she's a bit more timid than your average yandere would be, and I like that.
Okay, so what would you give Gleipnir?
I give Gleipnir an 8.
An 8. Okay, I was hovering on that 7 to 8 line. I think if we get a second season, I think I'd like it more, but I'm giving it a 7.
All right.
Next up is a show that only I watched, and we had so much drama and controversy. And that's Sing Yesterday for me. And I have to put on my Darling in the Franxx t-shirt because Darling in the Franxx is known for its terrible ending. Guess what show rivals that? Sing Yesterday for me. We had a show that could have been a staple of romance for years to come. When people say romance, they say Toradora. They say like My Love Story. They'll say like His and Hers Consequences and all this stuff like that. Like there are staples in the romance genre, and this was 11 episodes into being a staple, and they threw it all away in episode 12. It's like, I'm not going to give any spoilers because you haven't seen it, Adam, but essentially...
I read it, remember?
Okay, you read it. Okay.
Well, I read the ending to it. I know how it all goes down.
Okay, so if you haven't seen Sing Yesterday for me, huge spoiler alert. So essentially they have the main the main character and his like love triangle, and he essentially picks the teacher over like this rambunctious like 19-year-old. So they have 11 episodes of character development of this teacher and her kind of like, I don't know, weird relationship with her dead crush's younger brother. And it's pretty obvious that like she views him as family, nothing more. There's nothing, she does not like him romantically. And episode 12, they're like, you know what? Fuck you. Maybe I'm gonna go date this younger dude after having like this really nice, I wouldn't call him nice. He's actually a terrible person, but like this other dude who like cares for me. And just throw it in the trash. Just everything that we did in the first 11 episodes, just throw it in the trash. But as long as Haru got the great ending, like, it's fine, right? It's like, no. This show was a 9, near a 10 for me, and they threw it all the way to episode 12. I dropped it to a 7 just because I think 11 of the 12 episodes are great. I think episode 12 is one of the worst episodes and worst endings in anime history. It rivals Darling in the Franxx as a show that could have been because Darling in the Franxx is the same thing. It could have been a staple for sci-fi. It could have been a staple for mecha. It could have been a staple for even romance. And they just pulled down their pants and took a dump on it. Like they ruined the ending of Darling in the Franxx. They ruined the ending of Sing Yesterday for me. If I could rate like episode by episode 12 is a 0 out of 10. That's how bad the episode is. The show itself is a 7. So if you like this episode, or if you like the show, you're a fool. I'm sorry. The show the show itself is good. The ending is horseshit. So 7 out of 10, that's my rate. Adam, take it away with your Shironecko Connect or whatever it's called.
Shironecko Project?
Yeah.
All right. So, this was the other one I was mentioning about with Princess Connect that's based on a mobile game and a mobile gacha game. So I actually downloaded both these just to see what the heck they were. So, but anyway, Shironecko Project. First off, if you read the My Anime List story description, whatever it says there does not happen in the anime. So the reason for this is My Anime List pulled the Wikipedia page for the mobile game.
Okay.
The mobile game's story happens after the events of this. So this is technically a prequel to the events of the mobile game. And I'm just going to spoil the ending right now.
Go for it.
It ends with the world resetting and the two main characters who are like in love with each other, them being put onto this new like reborn world. It's not necessarily reincarnation, but it essentially is, where they just like wake up in their teens or whatever.
Okay.
And from there the mobile game starts. So any like character development, all of the things that make you give a crap about the characters happen within the mobile game. So the prequel stuff all happens assuming you already have played the mobile game, which didn't get a full release in North America. It only got like the first few chapters, and the game only lasted for like a year. It ended in between like the end of 2014 and was canceled by the end of 2016.
Okay.
So we never got the full story of the mobile game to give a crap about any of these characters that don't get developed in the anime. So you get this very basic Romeo and Juliet style plot. So the plot is essentially there's a world of darkness and a kingdom of light. On the mainland of darkness, the main character is an orphan kid who's training to become the next king of darkness so that he can protect all the people because he's a goody two-shoes character.
Sounds right.
He's sent as a diplomat to the kingdom of light to ask for a temporary ceasefire so that the two sides can work together to defeat some evil demon. While he's there, he falls in love with the Queen of Light, and half the show is just them being cute with each other while he's sitting there trying to be a diplomat. Then, the last half of the show, he goes back, and the King of Darkness decides, fuck the World of Light, I'm gonna kill him, and he kills him and the world ends up resetting, and these two end up like dying and being reborn. It's essentially just Romeo and Juliet with a fantasy take. None of the characters are good, because you don't learn anything about them. The only thing I can tell you about the main character is that I don't even know his name. I don't even think he gets a name.
Wow.
I literally don't remember if they named him because everyone just calls him Prince. But he essentially just wants to protect people and he loves the queen. The queen wants to protect people and she loves the prince. And she also likes to pick vegetables.
Oh, fun.
That's all I can tell you about their characters. And so I feel like if someone were to actually play the game, they would be like, well, I know who these characters are because I saw them develop from this story that happens in the mobile game. But we don't get to see any of that. So none of that stuff means anything to 95% of the people that live in North America that might have watched this show. And there was also supposed to be a Switch game that came out at the same time as the anime launching.
Did that happen?
It did not. It got pushed back. So it's not going out till next year now.
Okay.
So the game that might actually have the story that's going to explain who these characters are still isn't out yet. So even though I don't think it's a horseshit show, it's a very basic Romeo and Juliet story, like cookie cutter bullshit. No one who lives in North America is going to give any craps about these characters by the end of it. So it even has exactly like a Darling in the Franxx style ending where you see the main characters like reborn type of thing. So it's like, I don't know. I gave it a 5, and this was the show that originally made me push up Princess Connect to a 7, because I'm like, compared to this mobile garbage, like that thing I had to give that an extra point, because I at least enjoyed watching everything there.
Sure.
Every time I watched an episode here, I'm like, okay, I've seen this story before. I don't hate it, but
it doesn't
by
do
the
anything.
end of it,
Yeah,
it's just lacking. It's lacking in everything you need for a well-told story.
sure, I feel
Like
you.
that all comes from not having any context or any way to even get it.
Gotcha. All right, so that's a 5 from Adam on Shironecko Connect. I don't know if I said that right.
Shiro and then Neko, like cat.
Shironecko Project. There we go.
Yep.
Gets a 5. Before we get to our last review, I'm just two shows that we didn't really aren't going to talk about, but shows that I watched and I think I'm going to recommend them for you. One is Kakushi Goto. It's on Funimation. It's essentially what was that show called? If it was for my daughter, I would defeat a demon lord, minus the dad marrying the daughter. This is just a really nice like father-daughter relationship story of the main character is a mangaka, but he does like ecchi mangaka, and he doesn't want his daughter to find out. So it's just like a funny tale of him hiding his like profession from his like 11-year-old daughter, and then the wholehearted like relationship between them. Really funny, really heartwarming, great slice of life comedy, 8 out of 10. And the other one is Wave Listen to Me, also on Funimation. The best voice acting performance this year of the main character. It's like her first voice acting, like main role. The character who does the main character in Wave Listen to Me. Essentially what the show is about is the main character is a female. She gets dumped. She goes to a bar, gets hammered drunk, starts talking to this random old dude about all of her problems. This old dude's like, you are like really good at talking. Like, I think a lot of people would relate to you. Would you like to go on the radio and talk about it? And she's like drunk, like, duh. Like, I'd love to go on the radio and talk shit about my ex-boyfriend. And she ends up getting like a radio job and like her own show at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So it's like a late night thing. Great show. It's so underrated. It's so underwatched. 8 out of 10. There's like a 0% chance we get a season 2, but it leaves off at like a really good point of like, maybe we'll get a season 2. But I think this is such a better anime than manga type of thing, because the voice acting in the show is incredible. Okay, 8 out of 10 for Wave Listen to Me. And we'll get to our last one, which is, what was it? Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom, or something ridiculous, some like light novel title. The premise is a girl is essentially transported into a Otome game. Is that what it's called, essentially?
Yeah, Otome game.
And she has to essentially find the correct route where she doesn't die or lose, essentially. And it ends up just being like a harem, like everybody loves her funny comedic style harem, set in like some fantasy realm where she's a princess. So Adam, your thoughts on the Otome game princess All Routes Lead to Doom light novel title?
All right, so this show, so this was the one I said was my front runner when I was talking about Love is War. If you would ask me 5 days ago what I thought my favorite anime of the season was, I would have said this. And it just barely gets beat by Love is War for me, because there was not a single episode that I wasn't left just smiling and happy.
Yep.
Like, it's really hard to make a harem show where you don't pick one person and kind of like attach yourself to them.
Sure. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Like, I want them to win, and everyone else, kind of fuck you.
Yep.
Like, if you get in the way of Mr. Right or Mrs. Right or whatever, then I don't like you. You're a bitch. But that's not like that in this one. This one, I openly root for the harem ending, and I think the reason is it's because it's a super wholesome show, and you can totally get the reasons why every single character falls in love with what's her name?
Christina. Or sorry, Katarina Clay. Sorry,
Katarina Clay. Yeah. You can totally get the feel why everyone falls in love with her, and it's I don't know. I felt like every episode I was like, she's just such a good person. Every time, even like a bad guy tries to go and like try to backstab her, she's just like, hey, I get it. Like, let me help you. Let me be like the the light in your dark world, and it's like, I don't know, it just leaves you smiling at the end.
No, definitely, like, this is probably the most, like, enjoyable show of the season, I would say. Like, every time I watched it, like, I had a smile on my face. It was happy. It was fun. I felt like, to me, like, a lot of the episodes didn't, like, flow. Like, for as good as her interactions with the character, I felt like nothing really happened until, like, the end. Like, when we saw, like, the, I guess, student council president is actually, like, evil. I'll put that in quotation marks, but, like, you know, like, other than that, like, it's just, there's, like, a lot of scenes of just, like, her farming, her going to visit, what's her name? Maria. Like, Maria's house, and they bake cookies and stuff like that, where it's just, like, to me, I felt like, I thought I was going to get, I felt like it was going to be, like, it still ended up being a harem, but, like, I thought it was going to be, like, a Quince thing where, like, everything revolves around, like, her relationships with people and, like, them, like, falling in love with her. And a lot of times, like, we didn't really get that, which was fine. I guess it's just, like, my expectations on the show of what I thought was going to happen and then what actually happened. But I thought, overall, the show was, like, very enjoyable. Animations-wise, I thought it was, like, really stunning. The palette that they used with, like, the bright colors was so nice. And then it was really reflected when they had, like, the darker scenes, because then it took away from, like, how bright the palette is. It's like, oh, like, we're entering a new territory because now we don't have light blue and pink and yellow. It's like, now it's black and gray and purple or something. Really like that artistic little, like, niche things I talk about, like, when I'm critically thinking. Really like that it does things like that. So that's just my personal taste on it. But, like, there are some things that were just, I don't know. I just was like, some of the jokes didn't hit for me. I didn't think it was as funny as I thought it should have been. The story was just, like, I don't know, like, the routes were kind of, I would say confusing, but it seemed, like, bland and boring, I guess. And, I mean, for the most part, the characters were fine itself, but, do you have, like, any other thoughts on the show that you want to talk about, since you like it more than I do?
I guess those things that you're saying, like, I totally, like, get where you're coming from on them. Like, I don't disagree with you. I feel like the show just did a really good job of just being a wholesome show more than anything. And, like, so all those, like, those things that you could be like, I expected it to be this and it wasn't. I just kind of, I was okay with it not meeting my expectations, because I think the way they did it, they told it was told really well. I like that the main character kind of enters that role of the villain, and she's just so dumb that she doesn't realize that, like, none of those things that she's trying to avoid happening are actually issues. Like, the whole premise is that in the game, the villain of the Otome game that she is embodying is a total bitch and, like, backstabbing people and, like, bullying and, like, is self-absorbed. But she's the complete opposite of that. So, like, when every interaction she has with the characters that she sees as, like, oh, this is happening just like it did in the game. It's like, it's not happening just like it did in the game, because the person you are is, like, different. So wholly different that all the characters see you from a different light. So it's mostly just them being like, you as the viewer being like, oh, she's just so dumb. She just doesn't realize that every single one of these people are in love with her. And they aren't, like, conniving to kill her or something. I don't know. For me, which I was okay with it not being super serious along those routes, because, like, from the moment when you realize, oh, she's just an idiot, that's what this is all going to be, is stupid jokes for most of it, it didn't bother me.
She's just so dense, which doesn't make any sense, because she's, like, you get to see her backstory. Like, she is a very intense, like, otome / like, what's, like, Doki Doki called? Dating sim. Like, she's, like, a dating sim, like, aficionado. And, like, I feel like she should know, like, what a dense character acts like, that type of thing. And it's, like, and the fact that she's, like, missing all these hints where, like, in the past, she understands, like, the characters and, like, it's a romance game, and I don't know. That's just me. You see her as, like, maybe, like, ditzy or, like, loopy or dumb maybe or something. Like, to me, I just found her as, like, dense and stupid.
See, I saw her as ditzy from even in the flashback scenes, because she even talks about how I can't figure out how to do that. It was her friend giving her all the information on how to beat the game.
True.
The one who ended up being the reincarnated white-haired girl.
Yep.
The one that loves books.
I got her name. What's it? Keep talking. Sophia.
Yeah, but it was her friend who was really the smart one. She was just kind of the one who likes games but wasn't very good at it from what I took. So I just saw her being like, okay, I've been transported into the game, and I'm going to look at this like it were a video game through and through and not like it was real life. So she was just being ditzy in the fact that she couldn't, like, she didn't realize that this was actually, these are real people. This isn't a game anymore.
Yep.
Or else she's not on the route of the game anymore, where she's just like so gung-ho about not dying or not being exiled that she just can't see the forest for the trees type of thing.
Okay.
But
I feel
that's the way I took it. But
I gotcha. Okay, so I can feel that you're probably going to give it a higher rating, so I'm going to go first. Like, I had some problems with the main character and, like, the romance element to the actual show. Some of the comedy didn't hit, but, like, otherwise, it's super enjoyable, really just, like, happy and fun, and I had a smile on my face the whole time, but it didn't really do anything amazing for me, so I give it a 7 out of 10.
Yep, and for me, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
Wow!
I absolutely loved it.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
I would watch this again right now on binge.
Well, we're getting a season 2, so that's going to be really nice. So, which was kind of shocking, but I'm telling you, I have this conspiracy theory. Crunchyroll is investing in isekais. They're going, like, you're going to see more and more isekais. This is another one, because I saw Crunchyroll tweet out that it's getting a second season, so I was like, I bet Crunchyroll has something to do with this. So, conspiracy theory hive mind. Crunchyroll wants the isekai genre to themselves, so yeah. Okay, well, 10 isn't shocking, so those were the shows that we reviewed. Tower of God, Love is War, Princess Connect, Gleipnir, Sing Yesterday for me, Shironecko Project, and Otome, whatever, Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom.
My next life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom.
There we go. I knew that there was an easier English title. So, thank you for watching, listening, whatever platform you're on. If you're not watching on YouTube, if you're watching on like Spotify, iTunes, we do have visual content on YouTube. Just search What Do You Say Anime. Follow us on Twitter. Mine is What Do You Say Annie. That's What Do You Say A-N-I. Adam's is Adam Betcher. That's Adam Bettcher. We have a Discord if you want to talk about anime, games, manga, whatever you want. Come join. We're very active at like all hours of the day, and we have a watch club every 2 weeks. We pick or we vote on a show. We watch it and discuss it. It's mostly like lesser known / maybe not lesser watched show. So this week is Grimgar, Fantasy of Ash and whatever. So look forward to that episode tomorrow if you're listening today. So today is Sunday, July 12th. So if you're watching then. But other than that, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.